Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the Burgundy Brigade Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Goff, at BRG Brigade Kevin, joined as usual by my fantastic co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron Music. He is at Avalangelist on the Twitter. Aaron, how you doing?
Oh, living.
Living on the edge?
No, not that much.
No, just living?
Yep.
Well, I gave you the opportunity to be exciting. Don't say I never gave you nothing.
Well, yeah, you gave me the opportunity. I just wasn't going to take it. Seems kind of familiar with considering our team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, since we last checked in, the team has been doing some interesting things. Last time we podcast, the Avs were currently in the middle of what became a 10-game winning streak. At that point, I think they had just won 5, maybe 6 in a row. So they rode that wave for a little bit longer. The feel-good train, everybody was pretty ecstatic, and rightfully so. I mean, the Avs just kept winning. Varlamov was out, but it didn't matter because Bernier was suddenly the best goalie in the world and was crushing everything in his path. And then the Avalanche, since they had their winning streak snapped, which obviously was going to happen at some point, they have not been anywhere near the same team. They have gone 4-6-1 since their 10-game win streak. That does include Montreal snapping it. And they just haven't looked the same. Now, obviously, the Avalanche were at home for the vast majority of that win streak, and they have played very well while they were at home. And now the Avalanche, of course, are still in a big stretch of road games, because when you play that many games at home, you're going to have to pay the piper at some point and go on the road and play a lot of games on the road. And it just hasn't gone as well. Not to mention, Nathan MacKinnon was injured in the game against St. Louis. I believe he is slated to be back against Edmonton coming up this weekend. Varley got hurt, but again, Bernier was being amazing for a while. His play has kind of fallen off.
Bernier's kind of hurt at the moment.
Yeah, and bunches of other guys are still hurt. We haven't heard anything about Sven Andrighetto in ages. Mark Barberio has been hurt. There's just all of these guys that are just hurting right now, and the Avs, as a result, are hurting. So what do you kind of make of this team right now?
They're a young team. They're developing, especially without MacKinnon. They really don't have a force at center that can really drive the play. They're waiting for one to emerge. My money is that they're either going to have to look outside the organization, or it's Tyson Jost, or maybe both. But it's just going to take time. Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, it's obviously you're not going to lose a guy like Nathan MacKinnon and not notice it. MacKinnon had been responsible for so much of the offense. I want to say during that 10-game winning streak, MacKinnon had 19 points. So basically 2 points per game over that 10-game win streak. And that's obvious. To say that the team was going to miss that is like the no-duh statement of the century. And I have to remind myself as well that this year is a developing year, and it's been great to see the many positive steps forward that we have seen with this team, but also still temper the expectations and realize that they likely aren't really ready for prime time just yet. They are undeniably much better than they were a year ago, and anybody can see that. But they still have a ways to go. They're very, very young.
Yeah, and especially in some key areas that are they're still young on defense. They're young in the center, and that's it shows up when you have to go on the road.
Yeah, currently they've got Kerfoot playing center with Landeskog and Wilson, though Landeskog takes a pretty decent percentage of those face-offs because Kerfoot is not a good face-off guy. Tyson Jost.
He probably projects as a winger going forward.
Tyson Jost, I think, is spending most of his time next to Comfer, who is doing decently in the center position.
He's better.
Yeah, Soderberg obviously is a veteran at center, and then who's playing it on the? What's that?
Soderberg just sucks at doing face-offs.
He's streaky on face-offs. Sometimes he goes through and has some really, really, really good stretches, but he's in a pretty bad stretch at the moment. But, of course, the whole team kind of is in a bad stretch at the moment as far as face-offs are concerned. They have been just abysmal as far as face-offs are concerned. It's just not good. And then who's the fourth face-off guy? Is it Toninato?
Yep.
Mercy. Yeah, it's just, I mean, there are definitely positives that we can see from some of these stretches. For one, it's nice to see a lot of those younger guys getting a decent chunk of time and watching them get more and more used to the NHL game. I love it. I love watching Toninato. He's not pretty, really, but he works.
Mm-hmm. He's a good fourth-line player.
Yeah, excellent bottom six guy. AJ Greer is. I just love how scrappy AJ Greer is. The guy just gives absolutely zero fucks about who he pisses off.
Next year, I'd have my third line be Nieto, Comfer, and Greer.
That could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a lot of fun.
It's going to be an adventure to start, but it'll be fun over time.
I mean, Jost is still figuring things out. He is looking more comfortable shift to shift. Just
injuries have really played a role here. It's like whenever he was starting to get up to speed, he just once he started getting up to speed, he feels like he got injured, and then he had to do it all over again.
Yeah. And of course, Kerfoot has played very well all year. He has some. He struggles in the face-off circle, and I mean that's really the biggest area where he struggles. I have very little negative to say about Kerfoot throughout the year. There has been maybe one or two moments where he makes just a weird, terribly decided pass in the defensive zone, but they are very, very few and far between. He's just I mean we can gush on him a little bit more if you want, but I don't know that we need to as so much. To me he's shown like he can handle and belongs in the NHL.
And I'm interested to see where the Avs go. They definitely need to add some wingers.
Yes.
I would also. I'm going to throw this bullet point out there on the forefront, and I'm not going to back in this. I would actually like the Avs to throw some money at John Tavares, see if they can get him over here.
God, that'd be cool.
And people are like, but what about this young player, this young player, this young player? You get Tavares, you just work around the rest of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the cap hit is, especially since you've got MacKinnon on a pretty good cap hit.
Yeah.
Rantanen isn't going to break the bank. Zadorov isn't going to break the bank. There's nobody there that's really going to require enough money that you're like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I mean, Rantanen, you tie him up for a long time on his second contract, which should be a reasonable one. I mean, there's Zadorov, same thing. I mean, at this point, I think you give him 5 years next time he's up.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot. You're exactly right. He's not going to be commanding Carlson type of money for sure. You still got there's a lot of young talent coming up through the system.
Yeah, I'm interested. Before the season is done, I want to see Kamenev.
I hope so too. I don't know that his arm's gonna heal.
He's back playing for San Antonio.
Oh, is he already?
Yeah.
I totally missed that. Last I saw, he was supposed to be out for 6 months.
No, he's back playing with San Antonio.
Oh my! Well, good on you, you fast healing Russian. Man,
Yak's blood. Good bones.
Why you have to be mad? No. I'm looking at some of the lines you sent me a little while ago. Other little positive things that have come up is, how about Gabriel Bork?
Yeah.
Who saw this?
Fourth line starts with Bork and Toninato next year.
Yeah.
And then I let the camp figure out who. Probably Wilson is that next body.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, even the Wilson too. It took a couple games for him and Kerfoot to kind of find a groove with Landy, but they've found a pretty decent groove. They had a very good game against Montreal the other night. Nobody really had a good game in Winnipeg.
Yeah, Winnipeg is where good games go to die.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, one of the things that I do think has not been handled so well since he came back since Varley came back is the goalie thing. I know that Bernier had played lights out. I know that he had been unbelievable for such a stretch, but Varley was back, had a few really solid games, played an outstanding game against Montreal, and then didn't get the next start in Winnipeg, and I don't really get it.
Yeah, especially when Varlamov gets hot, you ride it.
You ride that hot streak. Because, yeah, he can get hot for a good
6 months.
Yeah, good decent stretch there. And
Bernier, he'll never match the highs that MacKinnon has. He's a little more steady, but I actually, coming up on the trade deadline, he's the guy I'd actually look to move, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only thing I wonder about with that is then who's your backup goalie? Do you bring up the Hamburglar and then just ride Varley basically the rest of the time? Because I mean that during that whole stretch of time, there were a couple opportunities that Hammond could have started a game, but they did not start him, including that back-to-back from Toronto to Montreal. I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's been kind of odd, and I think at this point you've got to be going with Varley.
Say that again?
At this point, I think you've got to be going with Varley.
Okay. For a second there, I thought you said you've got to be going with Martin. I'm going, wait,
no.
Where did we cross the bridge and what?
I may have had a few tonight. No, definitely not Martin. We're not in that territory yet.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Which I don't know. So let's talk a little bit here, because the Avalanche are kind of two teams right now. They are the team that plays at home and waxes everybody.
Move the puck, skate up and down.
They're confident. They're fast. They're fun. They work. They score on the power play. And they kill penalties. And then there's the team on the road that doesn't really do any of that. What on earth is the difference? And to be completely fair at the moment, much of our home versus away visual is currently tainted by the large amount of games that the Avalanche won at home, while Nathan MacKinnon was going unbelievably. And then as soon as the Avalanche got on their big road swing, Nathan MacKinnon got hurt, and now he hasn't really been a part of hardly any of those. That being said, the couple games that he was a part of that the Avalanche were on the road, there were still lots of issues.
And at home, the Avs overall are still just better.
They are, and that is great considering.
You take away even the 10-game winning streak, the Avs are 3 games over 500 on the road. At home.
At home, yeah.
Okay, sorry. 9 of those wins came. You know what? They've won 10 straight at home. Still works.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pleased with myself. Pat myself on the back. Yay. It's on the road. They get killed in matchups where they're defenders who aren't as good or are younger or both.
Yep. They
get marginalized. The bigger teams really try to push them and slow them down, and the Avs actually go along with it, well, because reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's so weird. I mean, there was the first game in St. Louis. While the Avalanche did not win that game, for the majority of that game, they were much better than St. Louis. The first period aside, once the second period came along, the Avalanche picked things up and were very good. Since then, they've basically been waxed by a lot of different opportunities. They've lost 6-1 multiple times. Most recently, last game against Winnipeg, they got crushed in St. Louis. They lost to Vancouver.
They lost to Carolina.
They squeaked
those
by
two
Edmonton.
Ones where I'm like, yep, they're not making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, same.
It's fun, but
yeah, same. These are teams they should beat. And it's just it's
not as the only teams they should beat. They should know that they're better. Like, even without MacKinnon, they're better than Vancouver.
Yeah.
They are 100%. Carolina was in a tailspin.
Yep.
And the Avs just showed up and didn't play.
Yeah. And that has been it kills me how often they do that. And I don't know how many times they need to lose to bad teams when they just decide to not show up, to get it through their heads that even against teams that are bad, you've got to play. You've got to play, and you've got to go beat them.
And the whole thing here is that the Avs need to really stabilize their defense, because on the road, defense travels.
Yeah.
You can play, your offensive game will feel a little more comfortable at home, but your defensive game will travel the same way wherever you go.
The passing as well is just atrocious on the road. I don't.
Yeah. What is it? Is there something about the Pepsi Center ice? Is it quicker? Are they not adjusting?
It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. Especially, I wouldn't necessarily think that the Pepsi Center ice is any better than any other teams in the league. Especially after a season, how the Avalanche made the Pepsi Center look like it was the worst ice anywhere. And
I think it's actually probably middle of the pack.
Yeah, I'd say middle of the pack. I don't think it's any better or really worse than a lot of different places. But it's like as soon as they go on the road, then the passes are in people's feet or just wide, or they get out of their whole attempt to break out things and just get with that whole just get it out of the zone type thing. I don't know if that's suddenly the game plan now on the road. I can't imagine that's the game plan, because that never really seems like. Again, when the Avalanche get back to their shorter support passes, that
guys with speed,
guys with speed coming out of the zone, attacking at the blue line, all of that stuff. Then suddenly they're then suddenly they're looking good. And that's really what we get the sense that is, when they say we were really playing our game. That's what they're talking about. That whole idea of using their speed, possessing the puck, making it difficult for defenses to work against them. And then on the road, for whatever reason, they just don't stick with it.
I think it's a confidence issue. And when MacKinnon's there, he gives them confidence and they're better. Which, once they get a second line behind MacKinnon, that will improve a lot as well. Just naturally it will.
Yeah.
Because teams will have to decide, I mean, take our scenario, who do we cover? Tavares line or MacKinnon line?
God, that'd be awesome.
The Avs have the money to do it.
Yeah, they do.
The Avs totally have the money to do that.
I mean, power play for the Avalanche. Total power play percentage is about 18.8%, which is pretty decent. On the home ice, they are 26.7%. That is freakishly good. And
some of that's luck, but you also create your own luck.
Yeah. On the road, the Avalanche are 11.1% on the power play.
Again, you create your own luck.
Yep. Penalty kill. Overall penalty kill, 83.8%. At home, the Avalanche are 92.2% penalty kill. Again, freakishly good. On the road, 76.1.
This is the price of having a young team.
Yeah. Holy cow. How does it swing so violently?
Young team. And young team, shallow defense, and they're playing a 19-year-old on defense. They're playing a 19-year-old at center.
He ain't playing on the penalty kill.
Guys who are in their early 20s at center. One of whom is a rookie. Two of them are rookies. Toninato.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean, again,
they're setting up some building blocks that are going to be nice later on down the road.
Yeah.
We just have to take our lumps now and know that for the first time there's actual signs that they're going to improve.
It's very true. And again, that's another one of those I've definitely got to make sure, because I after a few of those really awful road losses to the Vancouver one, that was the one that really got me going, oh my God, what the hell is wrong with these guys? I know for certain I've got to be tempering myself a bit better as far as the expectations of the team. Again, overall records at home, the Avs are 27-1. On the road, they are 11-15-3.
You put them at 500 on the road, they're solidly in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Win your home games. Win 65% of your home games. 500 on the road. You get into the playoffs.
Yep.
That's 21 wins on the road. That's, just a basic equation. 21. That's 42 points. Add another 42. That's 80. Plus another at least 10, 15. And that puts you up near 100. That gets you in.
Yes, indeed.
I like that the Avs actually own the ice at home.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You've got to be able to own the ice at home.
I give great credit to the people who work around the Pepsi Center for building an actual atmosphere in that building.
Yeah. That's nice.
I've been to it a couple of times this year, and it's been phenomenal every time. Almost every time. The Phoenix game after Christmas wasn't great. But I think everyone was kind of sleepy that game.
Yeah. So even the Avalanche, they were incredibly sleepy that game. I remember that.
So going forward, he's back, so thank goodness they can trade Blake Como. Someone's going to cough up a second-round pick for Blake Como.
It is quite possible. Although, of course, Como is injured right now.
No, he's not.
Oh, is he back now?
Yes. He was back last game.
Oh, was he? I mean, well, like I said, I didn't see. Like I was telling you earlier, I didn't see most of that game. There you go.
So yeah,
that's good. Good.
I kind of wish Barbario was healthy because he's a guy that I would have traded.
Well, I mean, and again, there's still time for some of this to come around. The deadline has not hit yet, and
yeah, but you don't trade injured players, and Barbario is nowhere close to returning.
Yeah.
So,
yep. Which, I mean, we'll go ahead and this was one of the questions, but I mean, it's worth talking about. So we'll go ahead and talk about it now. Danny at Utes Avs fan, he sent us a bit of a slew of questions. The one that we're going to address right now is, if you're Joe, what moves do you make, if any? With recent injuries to both goalies now, would you try to make a deal for one?
I'd make a deal for a younger goaltender that's going to be a part of your franchise for years to come.
Yeah.
If that's available.
Yeah, but then again...
If the Blues are like, we're really desperate, we want to move Ville Husso, and the Avs are like, well, that sucks, but sure. I mean, that's one of those trades that I would do.
Yeah.
Send him back Nail Yakupov.
There you go. You can have him back. Yeah, I'm still very much on if the Avalanche do not need to buy anything at the trade deadline. Yes, the Avalanche are in the playoff picture still, even after putting up some not so great numbers for the last 10, 11 games. They're not out of it yet. They are 3 points behind Minnesota.
I feel you really have to trade is Blake Como, because I feel like he's about maximized his value. He's got great numbers this year. He's a guy that a playoff team would love to get for his veteran presence.
Oh, absolutely. For his veteran presence and for his grit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you can find someone who will take Patrick Nemeth, do it.
Yeah, his game has fallen off lately.
Uh-huh. He's marginalized on the road. Then the big one that has to be decided is Tyson Barrie.
That is definitely a big one.
My guess is that happens at the draft, and the only way they do it is if they pick up a legitimate top 6 winger in return.
Yeah, that's going to be another one that's going to be a tough deal to figure out, because again, I don't mean too tough. It's not like it's in the whole Matt Duchene category where you have to wait forever and ever.
This is you're dealing from a position of strength.
Yeah,
you have so many young defensemen. You have Makar, you have Timmins, you have Girard, obviously.
Yep.
And you don't need all of them, because actually they put Girard and Barrie out on the same ice against Winnipeg, and they got roasted.
Yeah, I thought we decided we didn't like that one after what they did in Sweden.
Yeah, I thought we decided that too.
That was a pretty quick decision, I think, for most people going, oh.
I do like Girard, though. He's definitely top 4.
He's a much better defensive player than people give him credit for.
Yeah, he defended without a stick. I'm still impressed by that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it must have been the Montreal game. He uses his body very well. He still gets in the way. And then, of course, his edging and his edge work and skating is unbelievable.
I was actually at the game that they blew out Minnesota. It was legendary, by the way. and the guy, I watched Girard circle back into his own zone, turn his back on the attacking forward, and skate behind the net. And that's not what you should do if you're a defenseman. They tell you don't turn back in your own zone. Definitely don't turn your back on an attacking forward. And he just skated behind the net and actually skated up comfortably. And I remarked on that. The guy next to me said, yeah, it's kind of what Russell Wilson does when he's, scaping out of the pocket. So I just call him Russell Wilson from now on. I would love to get, it would depend on the cost, but I would love to get Ryan McDonough out of the Rangers and plant him next to Girard. Johnson, Zadorov, McDonough, Girard.
That's interesting.
McCarr, and whoever you want your sixth defenseman to be.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what the Avalanche go looking for at the trade deadline, because I feel like any of these types of guys that we're often looking for, you know, the ones that would make the deal, that would make the difference now and really help the team push to the playoffs. All of that is going to cost you assets that you really don't want to give, because the Avalanche are still very much a building team. We don't want to get in a situation where, again, they're going to have to send off Kyle Wood to Arizona for Mikkel Bodker, you know.
The only thing that it will have to be a trade that improves the team going forward for multiple years.
Yeah. And
I've said that many times. I'm going to stay with it.
Yeah, it's a good answer. I'm happy that you're sticking with it.
This year's all about even keel.
Yeah, I mean, about the only guy that I can see that you can really see as being a logical piece to trade is Tyson Barrie, and it doesn't make sense right now, right this second.
It doesn't happen.
Unless again,
now they've still got another year on him.
Unless someone comes screaming at you at the deadline, throwing like an insane amount of draft picks at you, which people do. I mean, how many draft picks did Minnesota?
We'd like to throw William Nylander at you.
How many? Slow down your. Whoa, yeah. Oh, sorry.
I probably should have prefaced that.
That was exciting right there. My bad.
That's literally what it's going to take. Someone says, "Yeah, take our top 6 forward," or in this case, our top 3 forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it just doesn't. I mean, hell, Minnesota threw how many first round picks at Martin Hansel last year? People will throw stuff.
Yeah, they get loony and zany.
Yeah, it's a desperate time.
I like having Blake Como on an expiring contract.
Yeah, hey, that would be a lovely.
Hey, he's 32. He's in the prime of his career. He's still good.
Cough prime. Yeah.
He still is good.
He's still got it. But I do not doubt at all that someone will come knocking for Blake Como. I do not doubt that at all. Mm-hmm. And based off of how he's played this year and the value that he has, because not only has he been very good offensively this year, he's an excellent penalty killer. You need guys like that, and if a team needs someone to help fill that role and make a run, then he's going to be a guy that could possibly get a second-round draft pick.
Yep. You know who I actually move if the Avs can?
Who's that?
Chris Bigras.
Yeah.
I pitch him as we have so much depth on our defense that he can't stick up here. We're looking for a place where he can play in the NHL.
Yeah.
And there are teams that would probably pay for that.
I can see that. I mean, to kind of get back to the question that was put there, I don't see the Avalanche trading for a goalie.
Not unless it's a young goaltender that can help them.
Right, which, again, is probably going to cost them assets that they don't want to spend.
Right now, maybe in the summer.
Yeah, again, and maybe in the summer. And again, a lot of that comes back to what the Avs have been doing scouting-wise for goaltending, which is... aside from Spencer Martin and Calvin Pickard, they've largely gone with European guys that people kind of go, who? I mean, they did with Sami Adekalio. They have done again with Adam Werner and now Peter Kvacha. It's just an interesting time.
And it's really interesting. I don't know what they're going to do going forward, but they still have. I mean, we are not yet seeing any of the pieces from the Duchesne trade except for one.
Yeah, that is also very.
It's really sad. We're going to have to wait a year for that first round draft pick.
Yeah, probably.
But considering that Ottawa is heading quickly toward a rebuild, that could be a very tasty pick.
Yes, it could.
regards to everything, what are your expectations for the team next year?
That's hard to say at the moment because we don't know what the Avs have done at the trade deadline. We don't know what the Avs, if anything, have done in the off season, who they've thrown money at or not thrown money at, or things. It's really hard to say right now what I expect from them next year. It's hard to say that I expect playoffs from them next year, simply because right now, again, as soon as they go to Nashville, as soon as they go to St. Louis, as soon as they go to Winnipeg, we all know how that game ends before it even starts. We know that the Avs give up at least 4 goals, whether or not the goalies are playing well. So, I think I would want them to be a team that does compete for a playoff spot. But again, I don't know that they're there yet. I think the big thing, again, the big focus would be at how do those young players continue to develop. And I know that plenty of people out there are going to be screaming, "No, they got to make the playoffs next year. They got to make the playoffs next year." I mean, that's one full season removed from the worst NHL season ever. I mean,
I'm just curious because some people are saying, "Yeah, next year I want them to make playoffs."
I mean, of course, I want them to make the playoffs every year, but I don't know that next year is reasonable for that. If they are just, I don't know, I would want them to hopefully be like in that wild card area again. But again, to me, it's still next year is probably still about development as a whole, unless the Avalanche go out and are able to land a guy like Tavares. And
I mean, think about if they sign Tavares and then they get a winger for Barrie, that puts Jost, Tavares, and that winger on one line. That's a killer second line.
Yeah.
Provided, Jost isn't part of a trade, which I don't think he would be.
I don't think he would be. Yeah, I don't think he would be either. Again, if anyone's getting traded, I feel like it's going to be Barrie. It's hard to specify that. So that's my non-committal answer for you. So
okay,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just looking at the standings, and Ottawa's starting to creep up. They've got the 6th overall pick right now.
Yeah.
They've been playing pretty well. If they go up and get to 7, 8, I'd be curious what Ottawa does.
That would be interesting for sure.
Would you guarantee you lose the 8th pick, or take the chance you might lose the 1st? I mean, Carlson's not going to be there long.
That's very true. He ain't sticking around.
Duchesne's, his contract's up at the end of next year.
Yep, and
he's going to sign.
So much for playoff hockey in Ottawa, right?
You've got Ottawa's really headed for something bad. They pushed all their chips to the center, and then they looked at their hand.
Yep. That's, pretty unfortunate.
Derek Sard's coming up. Mike Hoffman the year after that. They traded for the corpse of Marian Gaborik. Alex Burrows, Ryan Zingle. None of this roster really is like, yeah.
And of course, Burrows is now suspended for a hefty time.
Keep him out of the league, please.
Yeah, seriously.
And then, I mean, they have Bobby Ryan signed for a long time, and he's not the same guy. That's a team devoid of a lot of talent.
Yeah. It's not going to go well for them over there, for sure.
No.
And, I mean, the Avs do still have a lot of draft picks that they've got out of that. I mean, there's obviously the one that's the first from Ottawa that's either going to be this year or next year. There's the second from Nashville that's going to be this year. They've got 2 picks in this year's second round. They've got the third from Ottawa for next year in 2019. That essentially makes up for the fact that they don't have a fourth in 2019. So I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to still come for this Avalanche team. They're going to be the way again if they continue their trends in the way they draft.
I was going to say if they continue to draft like they have the past 3 years, that's how. If you look at Tampa Bay and see how many of their players that are currently on their roster they drafted, it's an alarming amount.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, the Avs have a decent amount of players that they have drafted that played NHL games, but not a lot of them played them for the Colorado Avalanche, which is not great, obviously. So it's I mean, if the Avs can start getting guys that they have picked into their system, that's how you become a good team in the NHL. Mm-hmm. You drafting and developing.
Yeah, you don't have to sign a player for 15 years for an insane.
So let's look at the roster at the moment. We had mentioned wanting to kind of take a look at the long term for this team. What guys do we think stick for a while, and what guys don't? I think there's some obvious ones that are going to be sticking.
I think that MacKinnon guy's going to stick.
Yeah, he may have a future. You know, he might be a bust, but he's if he's a bust, the only bust that belongs around MacKinnon is going to be his at the Hockey Hall of Fame. Yeah. Gabe Landeskog, obviously, Landeskog. I'm sorry. Is obviously another one that's going to be around for a while. He's signed through 2021. Then we start getting into some more, obviously Mikko Rantanen, JT Compher. Those are guys we expect to... Yeah,
Compher is one of those guys you keep an eye on. You keep him in your back pocket.
It's not just me. When he skates, he looks like Chris Drury skating. And I'm not just because he's wearing 37. But, like, he looks like he skates the way Chris Drury skated.
He's got that little extra when it comes into a clutch situation.
I'm talking posture and down to all of it. The way he stands, the way he pushes off, all of it. It's like, did Chris Drury clone himself? And it was, I think he's like every time he's on the ice, I'm like, God dang, that's just the craziest likeness.
Right.
Anyways, Tyson Jost, we expect to stay with the Avalanche for a while. All those EJ, Zadorov, those ones I think we can just sort of write off as, well, obviously they're going to be here.
Right.
Then we start looking at some other guys. So then there's Carl Soderberg.
Gerard's going to be here a while.
Who's that?
Gerard.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my fault. Yes, Gerard. Definitely Gerard. Gerard is definitely going to be here for a while. Yep. Then we start looking at guys like Carl Soderberg.
Nope.
I think he's going to be hard to move.
Maybe it'll take a little bit.
But at the same time, I don't mind him sticking around for a decent chunk of his.
He could finish out the contract.
Yeah.
The only thing that would make me want to move him is his modified no trade clause.
Yeah.
Just because Seattle's putting together a package to come into the NHL, I'd hate to have to protect Carl Soderberg and let someone else be around.
Well, it's as of 2017-18, so it's in there. He gets a 10-team no trade list, so he can say 10 teams.
But I mean, move him so you don't have to protect him come that time.
Fair. But I also don't really mind him as a placeholder until some of the younger guys can come into the lineup and start to fill his role.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah. Colin Wilson.
I like him. Let him play out his contract.
Yeah.
Unless you get to the deadline next year and we're in a Blake Como situation.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And he's only 28. He looks older.
Same age as Kevin Shattenkirk.
Yeah.
I think. Shattenkirk might be a year younger.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Blake Como, we've kind of touched on him. He's probably not long for the Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
Sven Andrighetto.
I'm up in the air on him.
I'm very up on the air on him because 24, he's had some good success here. I don't think he's going to be. We don't see him sticking long term with the likes of MacKinnon, who is obviously playing the best hockey of his life with Landeskog and Rantanen. But when he's another one of those guys that when he's moving his feet and when he's really engaged in the game, he's a really good addition.
And he's a good possession driver.
Yeah, and his contract is cheap, $1.4 million.
Right. And you have arbitration on him he's a restricted free agent after it.
That's right. Could be interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. He's another guy that, again, if he comes in and he plays well, if there's a younger guy that's coming pushing for his spot, maybe you're able to move at a trade deadline. I don't know. Matt Nieto.
Keep him. Sign him.
He is restricted after this season. He's 25. He, to me, he's one of the most ideal bottom six guys out there.
Yes.
I would love to give him some kind of one of those like longer term contracts that's maybe a little more than just on the grand total side, but when you still spread it out, it's only really like $3 million or something a year, maybe.
I would do 3 years, $2.5 million.
Yeah, there's a lot of value to his game that goes well beyond the goal scoring. Obviously, a lot of people were like, "Well, he doesn't score a ton of goals." Well, no kidding, he doesn't score a ton of goals, but him, Soderberg, and Como for stretches have been playing some of the team's best hockey.
Right. And he's consistent. He's still young, so he fits into where he kind of fits into the blueprint. Keep him around.
He's a great grinding energy player. I love him. Keep him around.
Yep.
Dominic Toninato. He's kind of I think he'll be here for a little bit, but sort of he's going to be kind of a wild card, prove that you need to stay here type of guy.
He'll always be battling for his job.
Yeah, I can see him kind of ending up being a journeyman type of guy who always finds a place to play, but never really sticks anywhere for a long time.
Right.
I can see that a lot. Alexander Kerfoot.
I'm not sure. Sometimes he looks great, and sometimes I think he looks just like Tyson Jost.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
I like his passing. I like his vision.
I like him in the offensive zone, like as a whole.
I like him. I also like him playing a little bit of defense. He's got a better head around him than a lot of kids his age.
I agree. I think what will say really what goes on with him is how he continues to go year to year. Does he take a next step, or does he kind of hit a wall somewhere? Because there's certainly a decent ceiling for him. I guess it depends on just finding where.
Mm-hmm.
Comfer is obviously here. Rantanen's obviously here. Jost is obviously here. Nail Yakupov.
Nope.
Yeah, he had a nice start to the year. I mean, I guess it kind of again depends on. I wouldn't mind seeing him one more year, depending on how they're feeling about certain prospects. As a guy who can then, because I mean, he hasn't been bad.
He's not the kind of player you want on your bottom six.
No, I agree with that totally.
And he's just not talented enough to make it on the Avs top six.
He is kind of nice is that he does have a nice role that he can fulfill as like a power play specialist, because my God, can he shoot the puck?
Yeah, he's a specialist who's a tweener.
Yeah. Then we got Gabriel Bork.
I see what I wouldn't be opposed to trading him. I wouldn't also be opposed to keeping him. I'm kind of ambivalent there.
Yeah, he's unrestricted at the end of this season. He's 27. And he's kind of been a career AHLer who's sort of finally making the boost, making the jump to the NHL. And, I mean, to his credit, he's earning it. He's working, and he's scoring. He's doing a good job.
Yep.
We kind of covered Tyson Barrie. We both sort of see him on the way out.
Just because of a numbers game.
Yeah.
I think we don't like the player.
Yeah.
Just make that clear.
Zad is obviously staying. EJ is obviously staying. Patrick Nemeth.
Gone.
I kind of want to let him play out the rest of the season and see if he can sort of regain some of what he had at the start of the year. Because at the start of the year, he was incredibly solid. And I don't know what's been going through his mind, especially during some last-minute empty net situations where he just goes brain dead for a bit.
He's a guy that I'm pretty done with.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll let him play out the year, see what happens. If nothing else, he certainly was an excellent get off the waiver wire for this particular year.
Yeah, he was serviceable for X amount of time.
Yeah, Mark Barberio.
I'm done with him.
I mean, I don't mind him again as kind of a placeholder for maybe a year or two.
If he wants to stick around as being a seventh defenseman, extra D-man, fine. Otherwise, just move along.
Let's see. And then Sam Girard's going to be here in a while. And then Anton Lindholm.
I like him as a bottom pairing defenseman. It's going to take it. He has these frustrating moments where he brain farts, but he also has these moments where he's really incredible. And he doesn't need the puck on his stick to be good.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of strikes me as a Toninato for defense. He's a guy that's, again, probably going to be fighting for his job a lot.
Yeah, that's fair.
Might end up kind of being a seventh guy a lot of the time. But, I mean, he's got some positive aspects to his game. He's not going to be a dominant defensive player, nor is he really going to be a very sexy offensive player. He's just kind of all right.
Yeah.
Now here's the fun ones. Semyon Varlamov.
I like him, but I wonder about health.
That is the big wonder, and of course, next season is his last year of his contract. He'll be 30 at the end of it.
And
unrestricted. Who knows how many? I mean, who knows how many other groin injuries he'll get?
Looking forward, it's just the Avs have to have a backup option.
Yeah,
that's not Jonathan Bernier.
Yeah,
who I've liked him. He's been all right, but I also wouldn't be if they found the right deal for him. I wouldn't be sad to see him go.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know that the Avs can do it next year because again, do you put where they of the places that they are the most hurting for depth? It's hard to say that they are not the worst off in between the pipes because after Varley and Bernier, what is there?
Oh.
I mean, there's not much there. There's hope for Spencer Martin, but how much? And then, of course, we know next to nothing about Werner and Kvacha.
Goaltenders, I don't expect to see them until they're 22.
Goaltenders are obviously the unicorn of all of this, right? Of all of hockey, they're like they're the rare creatures that come out once in a while, and when you get the right. I mean, it's just it's so much different for goaltending than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. But in the Avs system, if there is a bare cupboard, it is the goaltending cupboard.
Right. Which is why if Nashville was to really throw all their chips in for a run, I mean, think about what they would do with Tyson Barrie on their roster.
Oh, man.
They might be unstoppable with Tyson Barrie.
That's possible.
And they have a young goaltender.
Yep.
We could even throw them Bernier or something like that. Tell them go win a cup.
Yeah, I guess so. East possible.
Yeah, Nashville's going to be around for a while. I'm looking at their contract page.
They are very well
They've got
set
everyone
up.
locked in.
They are very, very well set up. There is no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Bernier, who I'd like, but again, as a backup goalie, you don't really expect a lot of those guys to stick around for super duper long.
He has been my favorite backup goaltender certainly since Giguère.
Yeah, I agree. He's very capable, and there's going to be suitors for that. And he makes a lot of money for a backup.
Right.
He is almost at $3 million.
Said, yeah, we're going to pay you a lot of money to spot start.
Yeah.
Which is what he's done.
Pretty much. That's going to be the tough one to really predict is goaltending. I just have no idea. And I would love it. I would love it if the Avalanche spent a somewhat early draft pick on one of the more highly touted goaltending prospects instead of reaching out in the middle of, reaching in to see what's available in Narnia for goaltending with these guys that no one's ever heard of. And you just really, really hope that the scouting is good and in 8 years, maybe you'll see something out of them.
8 years is a bit of a long wait and see.
It certainly is. Now, granted, I remember
even if you draft him fourth round, you want to see something within 3 years.
Yeah, you'd love to. I mean, Werner has a lot of great physical skills. I know that. I remember seeing him at the prospect camp. The guy is enormous and is incredibly athletic. The guy can move. But again, he's been playing in a lower Swedish league and with very few, if any, numbers or scouting reports available to you. It's really, really, really hard to tell.
They have their work cutting out for them.
All right, so let's jump to some questions. What do you say? And then Louis managed to get us a voicemail while we've been podcasting. We always love hearing from Louis.
Oh, that sounds good.
Let's see here. We kind of addressed this for you, Danny. He asked, what's the difference between and how the team plays at home versus the road? Why do the Avs struggle on the road? We kind of touched that, and we kind of touched on this one too for you, Danny. But not maybe the second part. He said, playoffs this year or next? Your opinions on the pros and cons of both.
Run that by me again.
So he asked, playoffs this year or next? Opinions on the pros and cons of both. So what are the pros and cons of the Avalanche making the playoffs this year and or next year?
Playoff experience is its own reward.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Playoff experience is a great thing. On the con side, the Avalanche are likely not to get, as we've been talking about, Ottawa's pick this year. So in a what is a really, really good draft coming up this year, it would be great to try to be in the lottery area for that, so you can get some of hopefully the cream of the crop. That being said, there's quite a crop this year.
Yeah, it'd be the perk to missing the playoffs would be that you hit on the 1.8% chance of getting it, and you were able to draft Rasmus Dahlin, Boquist, Svechnikov, Zadina. There's a lot of options.
There's a ton of options this year. And then, next year, if the Avalanche don't get Ottawa's pick this year, then they're definitely going to get it next year. And if Ottawa's equally as bad or worse next year, which they might very well be, then they'll have that super duper high lottery pick no matter what. So that would be great. So I guess if there's a year from that point of view to make the playoffs, it would be next year. From that point of view. But as Aaron said, there is never a bad time to make the playoffs.
Wouldn't it be awesome if next year the Avs were in the Cup final and also winning the draft lottery?
That sounds fun. That sounds a lot of fun. Let's do that.
Yeah. Sounds like fun, eh?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm a fan. Oh, we just got one coming in right here. From Richie V at RichieV20, just popped into my timeline. Asks, why didn't Soderberg get the top line center promotion while Mac was hurt? Do you think it was a slap in Carl's face that he didn't? No, I don't think it was a slap in Carl's face. He has his line,
and it's been the only intact line for most of the season.
Yeah, except with the only time it really wasn't was when Como got during Como's little injury span right there. But yeah, he has worked very well with Como and Nieto for a long time. And when something's working as well as those guys have been, you just don't change it. Plus, as far as high-end offensive skill is concerned, for those top lines, he's not exactly like that high-end type of guy. He has some offensive abilities, for sure. But, again, Kerfoot has actually been playing quite well with Landeskog and Wilson. And the last couple games, I've liked what I've seen from that Rantanen, Comfer. Was Jost on the other side of that one?
Yes, it is.
I've kind of liked what I've seen from that line.
Yeah, but Rantanen's engine is powered by MacKinnon.
Get for sure. They just work together. Those two, they just work together.
Well, it's a right-hand, left-hand combination, and Rantanen loves being on the right wing shooting left. MacKinnon loves being on the left wing shooting right.
Yep.
There's so many reasons why that works. Yeah. And Landeskog just is like, oh, I fit.
Yeah. And Landy just goes to all the right places. So, yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's jump into our man, Louie, the regular out in Southern California. Here he is. I hope I didn't set up this up because he called during the podcast. So hopefully this does the right stuff. Let's go.
Gentlemen. Kevin and Aaron, my boys.
Looks
dude,
like it.
So glad to see that you guys are doing another podcast. I love it. Every time you guys are doing it, you know I'm going to be calling. Hopefully this makes it. I don't know if I'm going to be too late, but we'll see. As far as the Avs go, losing the last 4 Central Division games, it's pretty telling about, where they're at. It doesn't help when you lost MacKinnon. But, I mean, we got to be honest with ourselves as far as how we view the team, and I wouldn't say the Avs are completely pretenders, but I mean they're right there into sneaking into the playoffs, and that's a good thing. But I mean, if we miss the playoffs, it's not because the team's bad or anything. I just think we're getting there. Like the whole process, as much as I hated hearing that, we're finally seeing all the results, and I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen at the trade deadline. I really think this is going to have to be a really productive one for Joe Sakic, because I'm wondering what you guys think as far as what would be a good trade deadline in your eyes, as far as what the Avs land or what they don't land, what they unload and what they don't unload. I guess that's what my question is. What in your guys' opinion, is a good trade deadline for the Avalanche in your guys' side? Anyways, guys, I mean, I can't wait to hear the podcast, and take care, guys. It's Louis from Cali, and I'm out.
Love it. Love it. Remember, you can always, of course, give a call in on the Burgundy Brigade Hotline, too. It's 720-477-3762. Anytime you want, give us a call. I like the way Louis phrased that. What would be a good trade deadline?
Do you trade Blake Como for a second-round pick? Or even get someone to pony up a first? It's not happening.
Just like no one was trading 3 draft picks for Martin Hansel. Wait.
Oh, wait. That's Minnesota's music.
Yeah. What does a good trade deadline look like for the Avalanche? For me, honestly, it's not a sexy one. Honestly, it's not that one where you make that big move that where you get the big name, because the Avs don't need to. The Avs aren't looking for that right now. Shut up, Mike Evans. I hear you. That's not where the team is right now. They don't need at the same time they don't need to go on a big selling spree either. They're at a kind of a delicate time where they have to balance what they look to try to get and what they also try to give away. Because some of these guys, while they aren't long-term solutions for the team, are solid placeholders for a little while as the younger guys start to come through the system, start to get into the minors and pushing for spots on the team. Those guys are important to keep around. So I guess for me, it's a couple. I love the idea of Blake Como for a second to someone, because I think that's very realistic. I think someone will probably do that. If someone pops up for a first, then you sit there and you say you scream yes into the phone, and you put "Celebrate Good Times" on the radio, and dance down the hallway, whatever. Yeah, it's not. I think a lot of people are expecting some kind of a sexy, huge trade deadline, and that's just not what I want to see the Avalanche do. They got to keep.
I think that's in the cards for Joe Sakic.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I really don't think so. I just think the Avs keep the long term in mind, and if they are able to make their team, the team's chances in the long run better, then you go with it. And if not, that's okay too. Eye on the prize. That's pretty much what I think for that.
Yep.
Long answer. Right on. Well, I don't know, man. I think we got a podcast. What do you say?
Oh, that's a podcast. Clocking in at about an hour. It's about right.
Yeah, it's just about right. Very nice. Well, excellent, ladies and gents. Thanks very much for tuning in to us here on the Burgundy Brigade Podcast. The host for the podcast is over at Podbean. Just search for Burgundy Brigade Podcast on the Podbean, and we're there. You can, of course, subscribe to us there or on iTunes. We are on iTunes. Feel free to leave us a review. Those are the big locations for it. Obviously, we posted on Twitter and everything as well, and on our Facebook page. I'm on Twitter. I am BRG Brigade Kevin. On the Facebook, we're facebook.com/Burgundy Brigade. Aaron is, of course, Avalangelist. The Burgundy Brigade hotline remains for the 720-477-3762. Yeah, come talk with us. Keep checking us out and talk with us during the games. So, Aaron, man, thanks for joining me once again, and as we keep on making this crazy podcast.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Very fun, yes.
Very nice.
Right on. So, thanks for sticking with us, for listening to us wherever you are, and join us next time on the Burgundy Brigade Podcast. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.